All right. So I put in a pretty poor performance earlier, so I'm going to try to redeem myself here. I'm going to give myself 60 minutes to tackle the multiplayer map for this week, and I have to start over because I failed. Um, in record time, I failed at like 8,000 population. Like um that's pretty crazy. That's basically as a result of me multitasking. Um, you know. So, yeah, if I'm going to be streaming, definitely got to figure that out. But so basically my objective is just to get as high of a population as I can reasonably without, taking too many shortcuts within 60 minutes. When I say shortcuts, I mean, deleting a bunch of buildings, pausing a whole bunch, adding in a gazillion parks to like artificially inflate the number of people. I want to try to grow the city sustainably, but let's see where we can get in 60 minutes. And I do intend to get to 100 approval rating. All right. Let me think a little bit more strategically here. Hmm. Interesting. Affects 20% less water use, which is interesting because the area that it's in has plenty of water. Weird. Okay. Just curious. Water use. Huh. Okay. It costs one card. I don't know how many cards I have. Confirm. Okay, it's not gonna go. All right, that's fine. So, let's focus on the map that's actually open. These two squares down here. Like I was saying on an earlier stream, it's a little bit difficult to see just because of the way that zooms work in this game, unfortunately. Um, there are a lot of like plateaus here. It's not just like one, but there's actually like this to the right is, you know, in the foreground is the bottom, and then up to the back and to the side here is one layer, and then you can't actually go to the right, so you can't build any bridges from. You know what I never figured out? I will add this to the list for next stream. This is an interactive session. I'm breaking my fourth wall. Um, Well, yeah, I mean, just adding a cursor is like the main thing that I need to figure out how to do. Um, but you can't build a bridge from this center part to the area to the left. You actually have to build the bridges to the back of the map here to the next plateau, and then build that out. And then this up here is the upper plateau, which has a bridge over the small piece of water, but that is, you know, it's basically just an area where you can't build anything. Um, and does it provide water? Yeah, there's a moderate amount of water there. Good. Okay. So I think that this is more of, let me just see what we can actually build here. So a way to test. Hmm, here we go. Okay, so I have clicked on a um, a park that is a waterfront property. So you can only build it along a coastline, a beach, something like that. And the areas where you can build it turn green. So I've taken the largest park that I have in my set that is a coastal park, and the areas where I can build that have lit up here in green. So I'm just basically trying to figure out how much of my map here at the bottom is actually coastline to build on, and what will I just be able to build like a regular residential home on. And it looks like this entire coastline is buildable, which is really cool. Um, so I'm not going to waste my money on building that right now, but I do want to complete this. Let's see, I don't want it to be at the bottom of the hill, so we'll go with that. And then we'll have another, we're going to have a downtown area kind of right here. So this is going off of a little bit what I had before. I'm not really digging the coal plant, so I'm going to actually go ahead and recycle that right off the bat. Okay, let's go ahead and build some houses. And no, I'm not looking at. I've got to figure out. Um, this controller is not has I've had issues connecting it via Bluetooth to this phone. It connects sometimes, not other times. I've got to figure it out. But once I can do that, I can focus more on the monitor so that it's not like I'm looking down at my screen the whole time. So apologize for that. I'll do this instead, which is actually a little bit easier. Okay. All right. So I'm going to build that on the side of downtown, and then I'll probably, what you could actually do to maximize the access. And this is something that I have always wanted to test in Cityscapes because it's not the most um like detail driven game in terms of like I don't know if the direction of traffic impacts things that much in a game like Cityscapes. I think it's more about like the scale and the number and like is this building touching a street or not? Is this industrial building touching both of these streets, and so is it available to people using both streets, or is it just the fact that it's in this general vicinity? I've always kind of wondered about um, how complex the calculations are in a game like this. Maybe I can figure that out somehow. All right, so I'm going to skip to parks and actually look at these that I have access to. Uh, so, okay, so they are all locked. I don't know why. Um, oh, oh shoot. Okay, wait a second. Hold on a second. Okay, great. I did not real. Something is wrong with my. I'm gonna look at that back on the replay because I swore there was a lock over it, and doesn't that mean that I can't build it on this map? That's what I was confused about. Like, I used it to figure out where my coastline was, but I didn't think I was actually going to be able to build it. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Oops. Okay, so we're going to um, place a couple commercial buildings. You want to place a couple commercial buildings within walking distance. And then I like to use one to anchor out my downtown area, which I'm going to start to build out shortly. Okay, so I'm actually going to build right here. I'm going to add a park. I've got two industrial buildings, mainly because I want them. Um, I guess I just want to put residential and commercial everywhere else. And so here they won't be in the way. And I can also add a park. Eh, eh, get in there, motherfucker. There we go. All right. Okay, so again, water map. You can actually look at, the darker the blue, that is going to provide the most water. I'm mostly worried about filtration, so I'll fix that later. But so I got a little bit closer than I would like there on one of my main buildings closing. Um, when you're starting out, depending on how fast you're going, it might not be that big deal to lose one. But something that's really important to remember is that for every building that closes, that's minus 10 approval points. But for every task that you complete, your tasks are up here in the upper left corner. You're only going to get plus 1 to maybe 3 or 4 points each. So, for instance, if I complete this, I get 5,000 coins, but I only get one plus 1 approval point. Um, so you're going to have to complete many, many tasks, and I am pretty sure there's that and maybe one other way of gaining approval points, but you can lose them very easily. So just bear that in mind. All right, we want to make sure that these people have access to power. That's why I'm going to put some of my power in the middle here. Oh no, what? After all of that, yeah, okay, see, I'm not following my own advice here. Okay, that's one that I can fix easily. Sometimes when it's a population issue that had the building close, it's hard to, um, it can be hard to figure out the reason why. Uh, so increase that. Okay. Um, I'm thinking of bisecting this. I didn't last time, but the way that I'm doing it this time, I think maybe it's appropriate. Yeah, okay, that's good. All right, I'm going to increase sustainability around these two buildings. When you have too many commercial buildings within one area creating pollution, uh, the residents around it you don't like it. And people don't want to work there. So, the buildings can't increase to the next level. So I try to get ahead of that by just placing a park. That can be an issue if you don't have a bunch of additional parks. I'll show you in the municipal buildings. Go to your parks. So obviously here to the left is where your first available park will show up once it's available. But if you have been getting your points from just playing over time, you will have received or purchased a lot of these other parks, specialty parks that you have access to from the beginning of your map. And so you can use those and place those strategically to, take care of whatever you need to take care of, whether it's, increasing population, sustainability, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and make another neighborhood here. Oh, can I not? I try to do like the multi build there, um, dropping the one and then dragging it across, and it did not work. It's one of those things in the game that's a little bit sticky. You'll notice that with Cityscapes, there's a lot of little bugs. There's definitely a lot of little bugs, and depending on your platform, I'm playing on my phone, iPhone 14, I think. With the latest, it's fully updated. Uh, it runs pretty smooth, but I've heard that there are a lot of issues on Apple TV. So if you're experiencing issues, maybe switch your platform and try playing on a different, switch to your computer, switch to your phone, switch to your iPad, um, just to see how things work for you. Okay, level 6 is when the next square unlocks. So let's work on filling some of this stuff in. You really should fill it in anyway. There's a lot of very useful space here to be utilized. Okay, put a larger residential building there. Another one here. Okay, and now I can start thinking about power. Um, and I actually did this backwards. I wanted to, well, I didn't think about it at the time, but to make your utilities work, they have to be connected to a road. And if you use a windmill or a wind turbine, you are only using up one square, one access point. And so you can kind of squeeze it in wherever you want. You can use that to enter a neighborhood, and then you can basically come back into a more open area and place, a larger, uh, power generator of some sort. And as long as they're all connected to each other, they will work. And it will show you, the broken, yeah, it won't even let me, but it will show the broken road sign if they're not being utilized or if they're not connected to each other. And if they're not connected to each other, you can't use the power that they generate. Okay. Uh, always do plus approval rating if it doesn't cost you anything. Okay, fire. Hmm. Okay, starting to get full here. So like I mentioned earlier, this space up here is a plateau. So even though it's adjacent to where I am, currently I do not have access to those squares. I looked at the map earlier and I did not see the different layers. I saw them a little bit later, so that definitely will impact, which direction you will be building in, obviously. So there is some area still left here in the lower plateau, and there are no other buildings down there. And then there is another square north of us, which has one district, the Main Street district, and then also a special response unit. That is law enforcement, and that will not come into play until a little bit later. So I'm thinking just going for space might be the way to go right now. Yeah, let's go with the adjacent one. And we'll start to get this grid of streets together. Let's see, I've been going for about 20 minutes. I do want to go for a full 60 and just see how far I can get. It is usually a little slower here at the beginning. Some people, they'll go to their residential and they'll look at all of these rare buildings that they have access to, and or these epic level, these purple ones. And all of these are 450 people each. So if you just throw 10 of these in there, your population will go up really quickly. But remember, for every building that closes, that's minus 10 points. So if you do that right at the beginning, and then you have three of them close, you're at 20 points, and that basically makes your town almost unsustainable right from the beginning. So just be careful with that. It can be alluring, but it is definitely not beneficial to do that. Um, unless you have some sort of strategy to handle it, and there are ways to go about it, to do it effectively. Okay, so I don't want to add any more congestion there, so I'm going to add a turn in the middle of the area and add a regular straight T. We'll build out some industrial stuff over here. Now remember, as you are building in new areas, you're going to have to cover those for your utilities. Um, your electricity will count for the entire grid, but you will have to cover your water and your fire for that area specifically. So just make sure that as you're expanding your map, you don't forget about filling in the utilities in those new areas as you go. Excuse my voice, guys. I've been sick for a week almost, about 5 days, and it's just absolutely kicking my ass. And I thought I was getting better this morning, and it's not that I'm not. It's just, you know, I've hit this plateau of getting better. Um, so I guess this morning I hit a new step, and now I'm just like, ugh, you know. Anyway, hopefully it's not too unbearable for your ears, because I'm sure that my voice sounds a little yucky. Okay, I think we've got most things covered. I'd really like to work on the pollution. Now that I have more space, I think we can actually do that. So let me move this commercial building over and go to my parks. Again, if you, maybe this is something I'll show in a future stream, but these are rare buildings that you would have access to just from playing, coming back week after week, playing various levels, earning experience points, things like that. And you can buy parks, so you'll have access to parks. You'll get them as like rewards for completing a level or, completing 20 of a certain task. Maybe I'll show you a little bit later in this stream. So what I did is I just added this very large park. It's called the Aquatic Park. I use it in a lot of my maps because it just has a very large reach, and it helps me take care of pollution pretty easily, pretty quickly, and it does not cost too much. So it's under 10,000, and if I upgrade it a couple of times, I also upgrade this Egyptian oasis a couple more times, we're going to start to get a lot more, you know what? Let me pause this because I need to take care of my peeps over here. Hold up. Let me not neglect this. So, one strategy that I did not used to use because I felt like it was cheating, or like I was not playing in cozy mode. I was like playing in like I have to win it in this way mode. A little bit more competitive, even though it's just me playing. I'm a pretty competitive person, I guess. And sometimes when you're playing a game that you want to last for a full week, like just pause the game. Pause the game, reassess, push a couple buttons, fix things, and when you press play, as long as you don't let it get right to the end, usually the problems will be solved immediately. So, uh, yeah, that's just a tip. Just pause it and play. Pause it and play. Okay. Build 3 roads. Well, why didn't you tell me this before? Hmm. Let's see. All right, let me take care of this trash first. So trash, right off the bat, you will have both of these initial options open. One costs 2,000 coins, the other costs 33,000 coins. Definitely go with the 33,000 one. It's an incinerator. It takes up like the smallest amount of space, basically the same as a residential building. As opposed to, and I'll move that, but as opposed to a garbage dump, which is, takes up an entire city block in the game, right? That's not ideal. So that's another quick tip. Let's put this by our parks. Okay, because it does give off a little bit of pollution, but not as much as the full landfill. Okay, I'm going to build. It's 2 roads. Hmm. Let's see here. I definitely feel like there's a time pressure that I don't usually have. And I wonder if it's this building down here adding just that bit more of population that's like pushing things forward. Um, that's the only thing that I can really think. Feels like it's moving fast. but that may just be me. Hmm. Let's see. I mean, I hate to be that person. Yikes. Sometimes you just got to go for the easy one, am I right? Um, Godly. Uh, okay, just taking a little bit of a break, collecting some coins. All right. Okay, at this point, it's a good time to just check on the happiness level of your stuff. So you can do this actually in all three sectors. So it looks like we're running out of water over here. That's weird. We definitely should have had water. Um, we'll just increase that everywhere. All right. What else? More shopping. So, you can tackle these things as you see them as they come. I'm gonna play a little bit of Tetris right here, just so we can do some urban infill. Or you could just go through everything, see the needs, and then just blanket improve things across the board. I like to improve things as I go, especially at the beginning. You don't have a lot of coins to use, so no sense in, wasting them all at once on something that you may not need. So I just go through and make improvements as I see them. And then once you get into like the 200K mark, you can go along and be making purchases for buildings that are 30K, 80K. There are even some buildings that I think are like 130K. I've seen 135 thousand coins. Okay, so we've got this task of building 10 buildings. We only get two. Well, that's good. All right. Gotta check, check, check. All right. My bad. You know, when the people call you, you gotta go. Shoot, I'm so about to sneeze right now. Oh my god. Okay, so what I was saying was when you are when you have, and this is pretty typical, and it will almost always be 10, and sometimes they have them back to back, and I find that really annoying because I'm like, you're having me build 10 buildings and you're only giving me plus 2 points, but um and you're only giving me plus 2 points. Let's see, my bad, let me turn this down. Yeah, okay. Sometimes you don't have the space. If I were to do this task and I get this task twice in a row, I will have filled up almost this entire map, the areas that I can, with residential buildings. Because remember, I still have to build other buildings to support those, right? So it doesn't necessarily always make sense to build regular buildings, right? So, because a residential building is almost one of the smallest buildings. And this is where parks come in. Parks, or there are a couple of other things like wind turbines. But you're going to want to go to something that is 1 square. And so a wind turbine is 1 square. There are certain parks that are 1 square, and those become available, I think, at, you know, level 6 or level 7, something like that. Um, Little concrete blocks, little parking lots, things like that. So you're going to want to figure out how to. Um, Let me just take care of this real quick. You're going to have to figure out the best way for you to be able to fulfill these because they happen a lot, and it will definitely be part of what you need to do to increase your approval rating. Um, if you have a lot of money but not a lot of space, you can use the wind turbines. And I say a lot of money because they're 4,000 each. But if you're lacking in power, or if you're looking to replace a non-renewable power source, then you can build a bunch of those and fulfill that pretty quickly. Parks are fine too, but they just aren't that useful. Plus 5 people, plus 15, capacity for commercial, plus 11 for industrial. Those things can be useful, but not always. Um, okay, so I've spent all this time talking. Let's go ahead and add some actual residential buildings because I need people. And I'll add one there. I don't want to put all of my. Yeah, okay. All right, I still need 5. Let's add some more people here again. And then I think I want to start adding some people in here. Okay, so I think we've hit our 10 buildings. Fine. Great. So education is definitely one of those infill buildings that I talk about. Not all of your buildings that you're putting in here can be residential, commercial, and industrial. You have to leave room for your water, your power, your fire, law enforcement, and in this case, education. So education is one of those things that um, it's another thing that you need to put to a lot of to make sure that your city is going to grow um, with any speed. So I like to put one on both sides. They have these silly tasks. Increase education provided by 1. I'm like that. I mean, literally, if you have one building and you put one education building, you've accomplished that. I've always found that to be kind of odd. But anyway, it gets the job done, right? So we're already at 74 approval rating, and we've been going for about 40 minutes. So I'm going to go for about 20 more. Let's see, we're at 17,000. Uh, okay. Um, 17,000, and I'm going to get. I'm gonna try to go for 30. So let's try if we can go for 30 by 3:25 p.m. Level 10, and level 10 is, let's see, what level is 30,000? Is it 18? It's 17. Okay. Let's get on it. Let's get on it. Okay. I can add a commercial building up here and add another one for access right at the bottom. Let's add another one over here for good measure. Nope, I can't. Okay. Sometimes I go a little bit overboard, but you know, gotta do what you gotta do. All right. Let's look at our happiness level again. All of our residents are happy pretty much. Let's see our commercial buildings. All but the new ones are happy, and that's fine. They'll figure it out. And all of our industrial buildings are happy. Okay, so that's great. That's a really great place to be. So now we really want to start amping this up with some stuff. Uh, so basically, what you're looking for is the happiness for everyone is there. So now you can just increase the number of everything, and I don't know. Somehow it just multiplies and it works together, and you know you hit this point of the population just really taking off. So let's see if we can get if we can hit this peak here. I especially want to get into this. Uh, Gosh, I almost want to open this one first. I actually might have to do that. Yeah, because this out here, I can, what you can actually do is go to your parks and get parking and start filling that in. It's not the prettiest, but it is effective, and you know, it works in a pinch. So let's see here. That should give us like literally 45. Yeah, exactly. Awesome. All right. Build roads. I don't know if I really have any more roads that I need to build. Um, so I'm almost inclined to just build back here and add maybe some utilities. Great, we're nearing 80%. Once you hit 80%, the money really takes off. Once the money takes off, you're able to build with more speed. Once you're able to build with more speed, the population starts growing really, really fast. I'm just gonna hop in here and fix this pollution problem because there's a lot going on, and I just typically I just take care of this from the absolute beginning, but I've been trying to focus on other things, and now it's just getting to me. So we're gonna do this. Oh man, I've already used up all of those. Wait, what? It's because I had them in my earlier map when I freaking, gosh darn it. All right, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. We're gonna go without it. Okay, so yeah, I don't need coins, so I wouldn't go for -10 approval anyway. That doesn't make sense. I'm hoping that with these upgrades and with these merges, that some of these things will take care of themselves. I don't actually have to build any additional buildings for right now. Let's see here. I think let's check our water. check our fire. Let's check our education is maxed out. That's a good thing. Let's put a high school. Oof, no room. Yikes. Put a high school right there for when we extend that road. Uh, and let's put another one right here. Great. Education is another one of those things that once you deal with it, it really takes things up pretty quickly in growing everything. Um, all right, now let's start getting into some population multipliers here. Hockey rink. Where can we put this? Okay. Wait. Holiday something or other. And I'm also going to go to my parks and see if I can increase my production. Here we go. Oh god, that thing's huge. Uh, um, shoot. Oh wait, here's one. Here's one. Here's one. Okay, so that should increase my jobs by a little bit. I'll do a merge. All right, I'm gonna start really hammering here. Let's get on it. And also, I could look at some beachfront property. Let's see. If I increase my production, then I will be able to. Let me see here. Oops, Jesus. Great. All right, so by the end of the hour, I will have reached 100% or 100 approval rating. Um, and once you've hit that, as long as you don't do anything stupid, it's not that difficult to maintain. So then, just building on your city, being strategic. If you start early in the week, by the time you're at the end of the week for your mayor's leagues, if you're trying to level up, um, just keep at it. It's really just a time, and it's a numbers game. The longer that you go, um, the more points that you're going to accrue. There are some people that play every map every day, every single daily map, and then also the weekly map. And so for them, it's going to kind of be inevitable that they're going to hit that. I'm going to go here and upgrade these parking lots. And then also at this point, I feel okay, slowly just upgrading things because um, I'm at 85 approval rating, and so if I lose 10 there, it's not the end of the world. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of infill over here. Okay, I really need a factory over here is really what I need. And I kind of effed myself by putting all of these power things here. So I'm actually going to try to correct this. Uh, hmm, actually, I'm going to give myself permission to delete this and maybe sneak in. Yee, yee. Huh? Okay, nice. All right, all right. Time to press go on a couple of these. Just going to. All right. Okay, so I've only got 1,000 more residents to go before I hit level 10. I wanted to hit 30,000, but I barely hit 10. Um, this is more difficult than I expected. I don't know. I don't know why. It seemed like it was moving fast, and then I feel like I stalled out. I think I just ran out of room. I think I just did not plan my area well enough. And these squares are actually relatively small, it feels like. So, like, you level up um, at the same point in population, but you have less space to build in, it seems like. So, that's definitely one thing. Let's see. Shopping, yep, yep, yep. Really determined to get up there before this hour is up. So let's make this happen, folks. All right, there we go. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up here. This is a district, which means that is automatically a population multiplier that you can take advantage of. There are a couple requirements, but it's a little bit easier, I think, than dealing with parks. So Let's see. Let's build a couple of these streets out. Nice. All right. Once you start merging your commercial and your industrial buildings, you know that you've hit a bit of a stride. That does usually happen around 10, but not always. It just depends on the type of buildings that you put down. Because if you don't have the right buildings, then there is nothing to merge. And, you can put down the right buildings or the wrong buildings and still get to the same population number. So, that's something to think about for sure. All right. Okay. So with that update came healthcare. That's good. To put this in some strategic spots here. Um, okay. All right. Fantastic. So we have gotten from 50 to 100% approval rating, and we have gotten to level 10, um, and we've opened up 2 additional squares in addition to the 2 that were open to begin with. Um, I'm actually pretty happy with that. So I think that this is probably a good time to stop. I'm going to continue playing on this map for the next couple of days. I'm going to be doing a future live stream on a daily map. Probably not tomorrow, probably Wednesday evening. So look out for that. I'll probably try to schedule a stream so that you guys know when I will be going live. But yeah, I will do a weekly wrap up of this on either Saturday night or Sunday during the day before the maps change over for the week. So anyway,